So for a long time on this channel, I've made compilation videos covering tons of different types of speedruns. But recently I thought it would be cool to make a new series talking about tool-assisted speedruns instead. I feel like TASes are a bit underrepresented despite how much work goes into making them. And outside of GDQ or the occasional commentated TAS, these go overlooked mainly because people watch these and have no clue what's going on. So in today's video, I'm going to show off some of the most insane movement strategies used in tool-assisted speedruns and explain how they're used to save time compared to speedruns. As a disclaimer, if you're someone that suffers from motion sickness, I would be careful watching this video, as most if not all of these games are going to include some very jarring movement, which might be difficult to watch. But with that warning out of the way, I do hope you all enjoy. First on this list is the greatest of all time best platformer for the PlayStation 1, Crash Bandicoot. You know, if we just pretend this game doesn't exist for a moment. The fastest way to move in the Crash games, assuming we don't have the speed boost from the Aku Aku mask, is by sliding. In Crash 2, holding a neutral stick position when spinning after a slide will allow Crash to extend the speed boost he gets from it. However, this works differently in Crash 3 and doesn't work with spins and only applies to jumps. In this case, holding a neutral stick when jumping out of a slide will allow Crash to maintain some of that speed boost and then slowly lose it while in the air. These are just the basics. Then there are more obscure movement options like zigzagging, which works by holding forward combined with left or right to go in a diagonal direction. What this does is combine the movement speed of both directions at the same time to go about 1.4 times faster than the normal run speed. Speedrunners that utilize this technique will often alternate between left and right to preserve the speed boost while staying centered. But then there's an even more powerful movement option called Zip-zagging that's so technical it isn't even used in normal speedruns. Not only does this technique shave an insane amount of time off the speedrun, it also allows for game-breaking skips that before the discovery were nearly impossible, like skipping past gates in Crash 3 to sequence break to the endgame levels. Zip-zagging works by alternating analog stick angles in rapid succession while jumping to build up a massive amount of negative speed and use it to propel Crash through each level. The reason this is a TAS exclusive glitch is because it requires inputting opposite diagonals on the analog stick, like up right to down left, every single frame. And with a game that runs at 30 frames per second, this just isn't feasible for humans without pause buffering, which at that point probably wouldn't save much time. Furthermore, this also comes down to limitations with the PlayStation 2 controller itself. Most people assume the PS2 analog stick is limited to a circular range, but in actuality, it's possible to input X and Y values anywhere from 0 to 255 for both values, giving it a square range of 65,536 inputs. So without the limitations of the circular gate on the PS2 controller, the TAS is able to make better use of the analog input angles, allowing for even faster zigzags and zip-zags. The general setup for using zip-zags in the TAS are to use some of the intended movement options I mentioned earlier to position Crash next to a wall at the start of the level, then begin alternating diagonal analog inputs while jumping to build up speed, then once enough speed has built up, we just let it rip. The 8-bit Beast chose Crash 3 as a game of choice to show off zip-zagging for a good reason. While theoretically he can make Crash build up as much speed as he likes and then slingshot him to the end of the level, Crash 3 is limited by the speed of the camera. The collision for ground only loads if it's close enough to the camera, so by building up too much speed and going too fast through the levels means Crash will just clip out of bounds and die. This made it much easier to come up with optimal routes for Crash 3 compared to the original Crash Bandicoot, which has no cap on the camera speed, meaning TASes for that game could get pretty absurd. The 8-bit Beast did make a low optimization tool-assisted demonstration of Crash 1 to show off what a TAS could look like. By no means is this a finished product, but still, it is pretty crazy to watch. Also for the record, if zip-zagging was ever introduced to RTA runs, it most likely would just be used for gate clips. But at the same time, they're still so extremely difficult, we have yet to see anyone pull it off in a run, despite how much time it would theoretically save. So I'm not exactly sure which Pac-Man game came to mind for you when clicking on this video, but when it comes to movement, Pac-Man World is the first game I think of. This PS1 game is regarded as a classic from the niche player base that are even aware of its existence, and overall, it's pretty underrated as a speed game. Funnily enough, not only does this game seem to be directly inspired from the Crash Bandicoot series, but it also shares its speedrun tech terminology, with its own version of zigzagging. Zigzagging in this game works by first choosing the D-pad direction you want to go in, and then alternating the left and right positions relative to the direction you're going in. Doing this stacks additional speed onto Pac-Man, not only making it move significantly faster through levels, but also allows for some otherwise nearly impossible skips. Since this game also runs at 30 frames per second, this means that optimally 15 right and 15 left D-pad presses can be performed every second for speed boosts, meaning RTA speedruns pretty much come down to whoever can destroy their hands the most. But when it comes to the TAS, not only can zigzags be performed perfectly, but there is some additional tech that can't be performed on a normal PlayStation controller. For some reason, holding right while left is pressed causes Pac-Man to go even faster than just a typical left press. But this technique is limited to only left presses while holding right, not right presses while holding left. With all of this combined is what takes PacMan World movement to its absolute limit. Here are a few examples of strats you'll only see in a TAS that humans will most likely never be able to do. In this clip, we can see Joester clear a gap using zigzags on the level far out and ends up on the bottom section. But when a TAS does it, there's enough speed that pretty much skips straight to the top. In this world record run by Joester in the Grave Danger level, he opts for taking these moving platforms to get to the end of the level. But instead we can see what it would look like in a TAS, which does an insane jump to clear the entire gap. This jump technically can be performed RTA, but since it's towards the end of the run, almost nobody goes for it. As of a couple of weeks ago, a TASer named EZSFan created a Pac-Man World TAS using the information they learned from other TAS work and the speedrunning community. But with the collective efforts of some more members of the speedrunning community, maybe we'll be able to see an even more optimal TAS later this year. Sticking with the PlayStation 1 theme in this video, you already know what's coming next. Spyro. Specifically the third game in the series, Year of the Dragon. While the first Spyro game is much more well known for having the most intricate movement in the series, there isn't a lot to be expanded on compared to what a TAS and a human can accomplish. In fact, when it comes to absurd movement, Spyro isn't even the character we want to focus on, which is why I'm covering Year of the Dragon instead. In this game, we get introduced to a handful of additional playable characters, each with their own unique abilities, and have homeworlds to play in, as well as the occasional sub-levels where they're required for completion. The character I'll be focusing on for today's video is Agent 9 the Monkey. Agent 9's levels are designed around his laser blaster, with the added ability to strafe by using the shoulder buttons. By alternating the left and right shoulder buttons every frame, it's possible to exponentially build up speed with Agent 9, multiplying the speed boost with every additional strafe press. For reference, Spyro's base charging speed is somewhere around 6,000 units, but in the TAS we can see Agent 9 moving at a speed of around 38,000 units, which is about the max speed he can get before it starts wrapping around into the negatives. Initially, this speed tech was also called zigzagging, but was later more accurately named strafe pumping. Unfortunately, Agent 9's homeworld is an escort mission, and his sub-level in Dino Mines is an auto-scroller, so we don't really get to see strafe pumping taken to its absolute limits apart from skipping around gates and collecting gems. But in the fireworks factory, the gloves come off. Normally this level is supposed to be completed in first-person mode, but by moving around the NPC trigger to activate it, it's possible to play in third person instead, at least until the first egg is collected. This is useful not only for skipping a text box, but also because building up speed by using diagonal movements is faster in third person than it is in first person. In this 117% TAS made by Nitrofski, we can see Agent 9 absolutely decimate this level in only 45 seconds, about half the time it takes for speedrunners, who usually opt for using Spyro in this level instead. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like, as that's the best way to show support. Huge thanks to all the TAS authors and speedrunners that helped us with this video. All of our explanations were cleared with them, and we could not have done it without their help. Again, the description is filled with useful links in the event you want to check out some of these TASes, or just looking for further explanations on some of the tech, since it all couldn't be covered in this video. Also, I'm back to posting videos on my second channel, and if you missed out on some of the Futurama streams, a highlight video was just posted over there, so check that out if you're looking for some more content from me. Anyways, that's all I have to say for today's video. Subscribe for more speedrunning related content, and as always, I hope you all have a beautiful life.